listen, when you do have a major accident, there are detectable levels of radiation, honestly, that can be found worldwide after that. Yeah, they are important talks. And, the risk at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant is substantially higher than any other nuclear power plant in the world at the moment. I still don't think it's terribly likely that we're going to see a major accident, but the likelihood is unacceptably high. And so anything that can be done to reduce the risk there is very welcome.
What do you think can be done to reduce the risk there, given that the Russians are embedded there? Of course, there are Ukrainian specialists who are working there, but the Russians have control. And the Ukrainians say that the Russians are using them as shields and using the fact that they're embedded in this very, very delicate facility to fire outwards, knowing that the Ukrainians cannot hit back.
Yeah, and look, one has to be realistic about this. The only party with the ability to significantly reduce the risk here is Russia, which is behaving recklessly, immorally, and utterly irresponsibly at the moment. I do think, there's various ideas on the table. One is a demilitarized zone around the plant, which would be highly desirable, but something that Russia has said absolutely not to. And realistically, we can't force Russia to demilitarize around the plant. There is maybe some glimmer of an IEA visit to the plant and inspection to assess its safety and
That's the
identify
International
risks.
Atomic Energy Authority, is that right?
Energy agency, yes.
Agency, yes.
And that would have to be agreed to by both parties. They could tell us more information about what was going on there, but that won't reduce the risk by itself. One thing Russia has said in recent days is it's considering shutting down the plant. Now, the Ukrainians are dead set against that because they're reliant on the electricity from the plant. But honestly, at this stage, I actually think that shutting down the plant would be the best way to reduce the chance of a major accident there. Now, I think Ukraine's concern is Russia is not going to shut down the plant, but actually divert the electricity to Russia. I do view that idea of shutting down the plant as being perhaps the most viable near-term option for reducing the risk. And it wouldn't eliminate the risk entirely, because even when it's shut down, you've still got to cool the fuel, and that requires power. But over time, as that fuel cools, the risk of a major accident would go down.
Okay, so the risk of a major accident would go down, but how would the Ukrainians get power? I mean, what percentage of their power comes from that plant? Significant, yes?
Yeah, about 50% of Ukrainian electricity before the war came from nuclear power.
Yep.
I don't know the specific percentage that came from Zaporizhzhia, but with Ukrainian authorities are now thinking about the winter coming on and working out how to get more power. And it is the largest power plant in Europe. I believe there's 3 reactors operating there at the moment. So it is a major contribution to Ukrainian electricity supplies. On the other hand, a major accident there would be a catastrophe, especially in the middle of a war. I mean, one can imagine a worst case plausible scenario that looks like Fukushima.
Yeah.
And the big difference there, of course, is in this situation, you would be evacuating people from in the middle of a war zone.
Mm-hmm. So how seriously then do you take the warnings from Igor Krylov, who's the head of, I can see you know him, he's the head of Russia's radioactive, chemical and biological defense forces. And he said that the plant's backup support systems have been damaged as a result of shelling, presumably by the Ukrainians. And he said that radioactive material could cover, or would cover, Germany, Poland and Slovakia if there were an accident at the plant.
Well, listen, when you do have a major accident, there are detectable levels of radiation, honestly, that can be found worldwide after that. But in terms of actually dangerous levels of radiation that would require that would lead to any meaningful increased risk to people, that's not something that you're likely to see all that far from the plant. In the case of Fukushima, for example, the evacuation zone, I think it stretched up to 50 kilometers around the plant, much more so in the direct downwind than upwind. You're not going to get dangerous levels of radiation at all in places like Germany or Slovakia. The fact that radiation is detectable is really testament to how extraordinarily sensitive radiation detection equipment is these days. But look, I don't want to play down the severity of an accident there, because there are, hundreds of thousands of people living within tens of kilometers for the plant, and how you manage an evacuation of that scale while a war is going on, I have absolutely no idea.